Last week, I started using the most powerful AI model the public had ever been given access to, Anthropic's Fable 5.0, and it blew my mind with what it was capable of. I started using it to build immediately, but then 3 days after it launched, it vanished. The government stepped in, and just like that, nobody could access it anymore. I was going to make a whole video about that model and how impressive it was, but that video doesn't seem to be all that relevant any longer because you can't use the model. So instead, I'm going to give you something I consider to be far more useful, and that's my best advice for surviving the constant chaos of AI model releases as a SaaS bootstrapper. And here's the one-line version, and the rest of the video is how to live it. Do not fall in love with any particular model. The ground keeps shifting under us, so your edge is a process, not a favorite tool. Let me show you mine so you can borrow from it. Let me quickly catch you up about what happened because the details here matter. On Friday, the US government issued an export control order barring foreign nationals from accessing Anthropic's two most powerful models, the public one, Fable 5.0, and its restricted sibling, Mythos, citing national security. To comply, Anthropic could not cleanly separate who was who, so it shut both models off for everyone. As of late Friday, no one has access, not paying customers, supposedly not even their own staff. To be clear about scope here, every other model is unaffected and still running normally. Anthropic says it believes this is just a misunderstanding and is working to restore access. Maybe it comes back tomorrow, but maybe it doesn't. Here's why I'm not really telling you this as news. I'm telling you this as a pattern. The single best tool in your kit can disappear overnight for reasons that have nothing to do with you, your code, or your business. So if your entire build depends on one model, you just learned how fragile that can be. So I know this is a dramatic example, but the broader squeeze is not a one-off, and you should expect more of it. Here's the part that most builders are not connecting. The big AI labs are racing towards going public. Both of the largest, Anthropic and OpenAI, just filed an IPO within a week of each other, each chasing a valuation around $1 trillion, and expected to happen sometime later this year. Now think about what that means. A company about to go public typically needs to show a relatively believable path to profitability for investors. And right now, these labs are losing enormous amounts of money with profitability targets probably still at least likely years out. So they're testing their plans around the business model in real time. The signal was already there before this weekend. Their most powerful model, Mythos, was locked to a tiny set of vetted partners, large businesses. The public model they released, Fable, was going to be included with a subscription for a short window until June 23rd, then was about to flip to metered pricing, so you would pay for your use every time, which works out to be far more expensive than the flat subscriptions that we've been used to. Gate-kept and more expensive. That is the direction. So as a bootstrapper leaning on these tools to build, you should prepare for that inevitability now. So here's the number one rule, and it's the heart of this whole video. Don't fall in love with a model. At least not that kind of model. Stay loyal to your process instead. Let me prove it to you by sharing my own journey over the past several months, mistakes and all. I started building with what was the most powerful model at the time in Opus 4.6. Then I switched to a different coding tool that I clicked with pretty quickly, which was Codex 5.5, and that's the one that I fell in love with. A newer version of my old model came out, Opus 4.7. I tested it, but the jump wasn't big enough, so instead I stayed. Fair enough there, but an even better one came out in Opus 4.8, and I stayed this time out of attachment, not judgment, and that was my mistake. I was not following my own process. Then the model that we lost this weekend dropped, Fable 5.0, that one blew my mind, and I started using it immediately. But then we all lost access, so I had to switch back. And at that point, I did the thing that I should have done the entire time. I did a clean head-to-head between my current options, and landed on the best available one for now, that was still available, which at the moment, for me, appears to be Opus 4.8. Now that is a lot of switching in a short window, and that is the actual job now. The lesson in one line, do not get attached and keep testing. Then let the results, performance and budget, together help you make the call. The moment you marry one tool, you lose your real edge, which is the freedom to always grab the best model that fits your budget. So what is the process? Well, the good news is it's pretty simple. Test the latest models against each other, find what works best for you, and by best what I mean is performance and budget together, not just raw capability. Then rework your process around that model. Keep building on it until a new one comes out, then test again. If the new one is truly better and it fits your budget, switch, or if not, if it isn't. Then repeat, pretty much forever. You're basically periodically A/B testing new models. It sounds easy, but it's a little harder to actually maintain in practice, for one very human reason. When you are deep in building, switching tools feels completely counterintuitive. You have momentum, things are working, and stopping to test a new model feels like a distraction, so you skip it, like I did. But I'm encouraging you to get comfortable with that discomfort because the rate of change is only going to accelerate, and the founders who keep testing are the ones who keep getting the best output for the lowest cost. Now, my process does sort of raise a relatively obvious question, which might be, how do I even know whether or not it's worth testing that new model release? There are something like 24 benchmarks and variables these companies use to compare models, and trying to read through all of them every release is exhausting. So let me hand you the simpler filter that I use, which has worked out pretty well so far. Focus on just one number, the SWE benchmark. It measures how well a model resolves real software engineering tasks, real issues, and real code bases. And that is exactly what we do as SaaS builders, which is why in my experience it has been a remarkably consistent predictor. And the rule of thumb is this. If a new model beats the one you are currently using on the SWE benchmark, it tends to perform better for building bootstrap SaaS products. So that becomes your first gate. New model out? Glance at its SWE score against your current model. If it wins, it is worth running through a real test, the refactor experiment I'm about to show you. If it does not beat your current model, you can usually keep right on building and not break your workflow at all. It is a fast first filter, not the final word. You still want to confirm with your own test and your own budget, but it saves you from chasing every shiny release and countless metrics. So a model passed the SWE filter and you want to test it for real. Here's the specific test I want you to steal from me because it does double duty for you. Point that new model to your actual product and ask it to review your entire codebase. What should be fixed, optimized, or refactored, and why. I did this exactly with the model we just lost access to in Fable 5.0 before it went dark. I had it audit my projects and it came back with a genuinely useful prioritized list, everything from security enhancements to performance improvements that I had not gotten around to or had missed. Bonus, if the new model does a good enough job and extended use fits your budget, have it implement the refactor as well too. Now I want to make sure you see the real value here. You are killing two birds with one stone. You are stress testing the new model on work that actually matters to you, and you are improving your real code base at the same time by following a best practice. A new release is the perfect natural trigger to do the refactoring you have been putting off anyway. You can make a boring but valuable exercise into something more exciting by testing out the shiny new toy. Now, what if the new model is expensive? So expensive that you can only use it selectively. Here's why you want to run the experiment that I ran, because it gives you the one number that makes the decision easier for you. While I was testing that model as part of my existing Anthropic subscription, the usage command had been updated to show me what each session would have cost once it flipped to metered billing, which is intended to take place on June 23rd. So I was running two experiments at once, how good the model is performing and how much it would cost to do a specific job. So I pointed at two real code bases, Clockless, which you've heard me talk about on this channel before, and a trading bot that I built for fun, which ultimately decides which stocks to buy and sell. A full comprehensive refactor of each took a couple of hours and would have cost me somewhere between $60 and $80 each. Now $60 to $80 per refactor might sound steep next to a $100 a month subscription plan, but here's the reframe. Your real alternative is hiring a senior developer to do that same audit and cleanup by hand. That takes a week or more, not a couple of hours, and no senior dev is going to do that for $80. Their rate alone is probably going to be more than that per hour, so the real cost is likely to run into the thousands. And once you know what it costs, say $80 for a refactor project, you know exactly how to use an expensive model strategically for high-value jobs that are worth it, instead of running a pricey meteor all day long. For that, you could instead use your tried-and-true workhorse models, which will be more cost-effective for larger build phases. Let me zoom out here to the mindset that ties all of this together. For the most part, the days of humans writing the bulk of code are likely over. These days, the AI is typically better, faster, and cheaper across the board. And we, as solo founders, need exactly those advantages to compete. So that's not something to resist. That's your leverage, so we need to lean into it. But that doesn't let us off the hook when it comes to practicing good engineering hygiene. You still want clean, well-maintained code. The trick is that the new model releases are the perfect time to handle that for you. Refactor and test the new model at the same time. And this is a prediction I made about a year ago that still holds up now. Worrying about the code quality of your current model is becoming less and less of a problem, because at this point you can pretty much count on the next model to be able to refactor it and fix any of those problems. So don't over worry about today's code, just carve out time to refactor with each new model release when it lands. Here's the full playbook for you, all pulled together in one visual so it's easier to follow. Step 1. Stay model agnostic. Do not fall in love with a single tool. Step 2. Run the loop. Test the latest, adopt it only if it's better and it fits your budget. Build and then test again when the next one drops. 3. Use the SWE benchmark as your shortcut. If a new model beats your current one, it's likely worth testing. 4. Use every new release to refactor. Have the new model audit your codebase and let it implement the fixes if it also fits the budget. 5. Learn the real cost per task so that you can use the expensive models more strategically moving forward. Do that, and it really won't matter what these companies throw at you next, or which model gets pulled offline on a Friday. Your process will carry you through. And that is how you survive all this chaos. Stay agnostic, use the SWE benchmark to decide what's worth testing, refactor on every release, and know your costs. The models will keep changing on us, and that's exactly why a steady process beats a favorite tool every single time. If you want the full framework for building, shipping, and pricing a SaaS product in this crazy AI era, my free 5-day email course is a great place to start to walk you through that process. Check out the link in the description below. If you want to work with me directly on your build and your tooling decisions, I offer private coaching also at bootstrappersparadise.com. I'll include a link to that in the description below as well. Subscribe so that the next one finds you. Stay agnostic out there, and I will see you in the next one.